Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Jonathan Ford. Ford was shot and killed on Saturday, May 23, 2015, in the 1700 block of West 52nd Street in Vermont Square, according to LA County Coroner records. Devon Thomas, Aaron Cleveland, Orlando Ritchie, and Kenshin Lenore were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. The prosecution's case was based on 3 separate incidents, all committed on May 23, 2015. The shooting at an inhabited dwelling incident occurred at the home of Ms. B, located on 70th Street near Budlong Avenue in the city of LA. Ms. B lived with her friend. That night, Ms. B hosted a party for her son with about 100 people in attendance. Just prior to midnight, Ms. B heard several gunshots. Everyone ran. Ms. B saw a black Honda drive away from the location. M and J are siblings who live near the corner of 70th Street and Budlong Avenue. M saw a person get out of a car and shoot approximately 5 times towards a house. She described the shooter as an African American male between the ages of 16 and 22, thin and wearing loose dark clothing. M thought the shooter yelled out "A-Tray Gangsta Crips." J saw 4 people get out of the car and start shooting towards the party. He called 911. The shooters got back into the car and drove away. In the 911 call, Jay described the car as a black 2014 Chevy Impala. A witness lived near 52nd Street and Western Avenue in the city of LA. Just after midnight, he walked to the side of his house to see why his dog was barking. He saw 2 men pressing the victim, Jonathan Ford, against a chain link fence. The 2 men held Ford and demanded he hurry up and told him to give it up. Another man wearing black clothing got out of the car, approached the victim, and shot him. The assailants got back in the car and drove away. The witness called 911. When LAPD officer Christopher Tavella and his partner arrived around 12:10 a.m., he saw the victim lying on the ground already deceased. The victim had a gunshot wound to his head and right shoulder chest area. At around 12:12 a.m., LAPD officer Julio Aguilar and his partner were driving in a marked police vehicle southbound on Western Avenue towards Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. He saw a black Chevy Cruze driving fast in the opposite direction. He made a U-turn to follow it. The Chevy Cruze drove into a residential area and reached speeds of 70 to 90 miles per hour, running stop signs and red lights. As the Chevy Cruze turned onto 39th Place, Officer Aguilar observed a handgun being tossed from the passenger side. Officer Aguilar activated his emergency lights and siren. As he pursued, the Chevy Cruze continued to run stop signs and red lights, reaching speeds around 100 miles per hour. At the intersection of 2nd Avenue and 39th Street, the Chevy Cruze collided with a white Prius and came to a stop. Defendant Cleveland climbed out of the passenger side and ran. Defendants Thomas, along with Ritchie and Lenore, remained in the car and were arrested. With the assistance of a helicopter, Defendant Cleveland was apprehended after breaking into a stranger's home to hide. Defendant Thomas had been in the driver's seat. A passenger of the Prius was ejected from the collision and suffered several injuries. He required 2 eye surgeries, had pain in his right knee, and struggled to walk for a few months after the crash. Physical evidence collected from the Chevy Cruze consisted of the following: a loaded .38 caliber Rossi revolver found on the driver's side rear seat. From defendant Lenore's pants pocket, the police recovered a Glock 22 40 caliber pistol loaded with 7 live rounds. Near the location where defendant Cleveland had run after the crash, the police recovered 6 .38 caliber expended casings of various brands. Near the location where Officer Aguilar had observed a gun being tossed from the Chevy Cruze, the police recovered a Taurus revolver loaded with 6 live .38 caliber Hornady brand bullets. A criminalist conducted firearms tests with the recovered physical evidence. The criminalist opined as follows: the Rossi had fired the bullets that killed the victim. Neither the Glock nor the Taurus were the murder weapon. The Rossi had fired the 6 .38 caliber expended casings found near the location where defendant Cleveland had run after the crash. The Glock had fired the 6 40 caliber expended casings on 70th Street. The prosecution presented several gang experts, including Detective Marlon Prodigalidad and Officer Michael Barragan of the LAPD. Prodigalidad opined that defendants Thomas, Cleveland, and Lenore are members of the A-Tray Gangsta Crips, and that defendant Ritchie is a member of the Hoovers. Both Prodigalidad and Barragan opined that the A-Tray Gangsta Crips and the Hoovers are allies, and consider neighborhood Crips a common enemy. Defendant Devon Thomas, along with co-defendants Aaron Cleveland, Orlando Ritchie, and Kenshin Lenore, were tried for murder, shooting at an inhabited dwelling, and felony evading. Following the trial, the jury convicted defendant Thomas on all counts and found the gang allegation true. As for the co-defendants, the jury was unable to reach a verdict on the murder charge, but convicted each on the shooting at an inhabited dwelling, finding the gang allegations true. They were each sentenced to 15 years to life in state prison. The court sentenced defendant Thomas to 25 years to life for the murder, 15 years to life for the shooting at an inhabited dwelling, and 7 years for the felony evading, to be served consecutively. Jonathan Ford was 45 years old at the time of death.